Hi guys, welcome to the video. In this video I'm going to introduce the multi-time frame MACD indicator for TradingView. You'll see here on my screen 3 charts. 2 charts on the left are from higher time frames. We have monthly and weekly time frames. And the chart on the right is from a daily time frame. And that is the one that has the Hahn-Tech multi-time frame MACD. Now I also want to let you know that this indicator was originally produced for thinkorswim by myself. And I published it on my website, which I will show you here. And it's located under strategies. And the reason why it was configured as a chart strategy for backtesting is because it was configured so that it does not create repainting signals. Once they appear on a bar and that bar closes, those signals are fixed. They don't repaint. A lot of multi-time frame indicators will repaint, including the original version of this multi-time frame MACD indicator that I created. It's also published on my website. So just wanted to let you know where this is coming from. I've had numerous requests from viewers to produce a version of this for TradingView, and so today I'm going to publish that for TradingView. So there's not a whole lot to it here. It's very simple. It's a MACD, and the crosshairs here are syncing across all 3 time frames. Okay, so as I move this across the charts, you can see how those crosshairs are lining things up. So I want to just point out this first signal here. You see that it's a cyan up arrow, and you've got a MACD histogram that starts to turn green on that far right hand chart. Well, you look over at the other 2 charts and you see that those 2 charts are showing higher MACD levels as compared to the previous bar, and that is what triggers the signal, is when you have all 3 time frames all lined up in the same direction, but that bar has to close. And I'll give you a little heads up here. What's actually occurring on this monthly chart, we'll go over here to this monthly chart here. You see this is a higher value of MACD. So it's actually this bar is the one that closes higher and triggers this signal right here. All right. So we'll take a look at some more of these signals as we go through the chart. Here's another example. There's your first up signal. And again, the histogram turns to green here on this bar, and you can go ahead and line up your crosshairs. This monthly is picking up this candle right here, okay? And that's showing that all 3 time frames are in alignment. So we can scan through this chart a little bit here, and we can see an example of a down arrow, and we can look at those on the other 2 time frames. You can see you've got a down arrow here, and the histogram turns red, and that is picking up the fact that these histograms on the higher time frames are also pointing down, while this one is pointing down as well. So when you have the histogram all going in the same direction on all 3 time frames, you get green. When it's going down on all 3 time frames at the same time, you get red. And if they're mixed, in other words, they're contrary to one another, you don't have all 3 in agreement, then the histogram is gray. It's really all there is to it. It's pretty simple. And I've already built this on thinkorswim and confirmed that the signals do not repaint. And I configured this on TradingView using their guidelines to avoid signals repainting. And also confirmed that the signals produced here on TradingView also match the one that I created for thinkorswim. Now the one for thinkorswim, one thing you got to consider with thinkorswim is that when you turn on aftermarket hours, you're getting a 24-hour chart. The broker for thinkorswim, Charles Schwab, has created their own sort of 24-hour exchange, and they trade all the way through midnight and all the way from midnight on to the pre-market. And so that data is not available on most other platforms. I found this out working for a client project, and we found out that no other platform right now is handling a 24/7 trading environment because the exchanges haven't settled upon exactly how to do that. But thinkorswim has come up with their own way. That's a long explanation. I'm sorry to get stuck in the weeds with that, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware that if you're comparing the thinkorswim version to the TradingView version, once you drop down into a lower time frame, that's when things are going to probably start showing some slight differences. Okay, next I want to show you how we adjust those time frames, and we're going to be looking at some lower time frame examples. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know where you can locate this indicator and how you can install it on your own TradingView account. So I've got the URL up here for the TradingView script, and this is a privately published script, so you won't be able to find this by searching on TradingView directly. It's set to private because I don't have a premium subscription, and so without the URL to directly access it, you won't be able to get to it. So here it is right here on the screen, so you can take that URL and enter that in a browser. It will take you to this page, and you can see that this is an example chart here that I just created, and it uses the lower time frames, 30-minute and an hour, and the chart set to a 15-minute. And then here are the rest of the details that you will find when you open that link on the page. We don't need to cover any of that stuff. I'll just go ahead and let you review this on your own time. And so now you know how to access this and add this indicator to your own TradingView charts. Okay, so I'd like to show you some other examples of different time frames, but with TradingView, I'm on the free version of TradingView, and they don't allow you to have more than 2 charts open at the same time. And I've got 3 charts open. So you see this chart over here that's grayed out. It doesn't appear the same as the others. What I'm going to have to do is cut this down to 2 charts, and then I can show you how this works with the other time frames. So for instance, I want to change it to an intraday time frame and show you how to adjust the settings. So let me go ahead and set things up. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now we're down to 2 charts, so we've only got one higher time frame over here, so we're going to have to switch back and forth. What I'll do is I'll switch this to a 15-minute time frame, and then we'll adjust the settings here. I'll show you where to adjust those settings. This chart here, I'm going to use a 30-minute time frame. Okay, so I've got that set up, and then I want to go ahead and adjust the settings on the indicator. So I go to the settings, go to the user inputs here, and you can see that we've got a midterm time frame and a long-term time frame, and you can adjust the length of all 3 inputs for the MACD indicator on each of those time frames. All right, so I'm going to change this one to a 30-minute time frame. I'm going to change the long-term to an hourly time frame. Notice if you don't have these time frames set up correctly, you get no signals whatsoever. So that's something to keep in mind. Number one is if your primary chart, which is the chart on the right here in this case, is set to a 15-minute time frame, the midterm time frame and long-term time frame on this indicator must be set to a time frame higher than 15-minute. That's how it's designed to work. If you don't have it set up that way, you're not going to get any results at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at this now. We got 30-minute and 1 hour. So now we can go over here and look at this red signal here. We got this down arrow here and the first red indicator here. And you can see the slope on the MACD on the 30-minute time frame is downward here. And we can go ahead and also look at the 1 hour chart. And if we line that up with the crosshairs, you can see once again the downward slope of that MACD on the 1 hour chart is also indicating that all 3 time frames are aligned. Now let's go ahead and look at this up signal, and you can see that on the 1 hour chart you've got the histogram is starting to turn upwards on the 1 hour, and then if you go to the 30-minute and we line that up with the crosshairs, we see the very same thing here. Let me just adjust that just a little bit here so you can see things a little bit more clearly. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. This is a short video. I don't have much more to show you. These are all the settings that you can adjust, and then you've got the style settings so you can adjust the colors that you want and the style of the lines and things like that. Oh, and I almost forgot, I did want to show you that there's some plots here that are hidden by default. You see the midterm MACD diff and the long-term MACD diff. These are styled as lines and they're off by default so that they don't confuse you on the chart. But if you ever wanted to take a look at those and examine those, you can turn them on, as you can do here. You see that? So what that did is that turned on this jagged stair-stepped line. That's because it's coming from a higher time frame. And you have the red indicating that that is the declining MACD on that higher time frame. Okay, and you can use the crosshairs on the chart to kind of sync those up and see exactly how that's working. So you see here, that red line goes down here, and then it bottoms out and it turns blue just at the same time that the higher time frame is also doing the same. But it's delayed by 1 bar. If you notice that, it's delayed by 1 bar. And that's how we prevent the signals from repainting. Now that's the midterm MACD diff. Now we can also do the same with the long-term MACD diff. I turn that on and we'll do the same exercise here. You see where this turns to red Oh, yeah, we should probably do that, huh? Let's change that to 1 hour. All right, so now let's go ahead and reevaluate this again. I'll turn those settings back on. Good. All right. So now we line up the crosshairs here, and you can see here that this turns red here on this bar, okay? And it's already, that's the higher time frame bar. It closes at that point in time. All right, so that's how that signal is appearing. So you can see that exactly on the chart. If you plot the extra lines there, they're off by default, like I said, but you've got the midterm and the long-term MACD diff. They're there on the chart if you want to turn them on. But to me, in my view, I like turning them off because it keeps the chart a lot cleaner. I like that a lot better. Okay, that's all I've got, and I hope that you enjoy this indicator. This is my first indicator that I'm publishing to TradingView. I've done quite a few projects for clients, individual clients for TradingView, and this is the first one I'm actually publishing for public use, free of charge. And I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that it is useful to you. And if you have any other ideas or any other suggestions, this is how I get my content. I look for input and feedback from viewers like you, and then I accumulate that and then decide what is going to be the next project to work on as far as publishing videos and building indicators and things like that. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate your support. Take care, everyone.